With everywhere workplaces, we are seeing an uptick in employers asking employees to come back to the office and at least part-time. But that doesn't get rid of the everywhere work. The everywhere workplace still exists and will always exist. It has existed in the past, even before pandemic, because you have users that aren't always in the office, whether it's traveling for business or it's going home at the end of the day and bringing their laptop with them. They're not always going to be sitting at a workstation, sitting in the office connected to the corporate network. And so that everywhere workplace will always exist. As companies, as organizations look at the everywhere workplace, they need to ensure that they're taking all aspects of that in focus. So staying focused on providing a secure means of communication, whether that's in the office or outside the office, and making it a very similar type of user experience. So that no matter where I am as a user, when I sit down and I utilize my corporate device in order to do and perform my job, that I have that same consistent experience, whether I'm in the office or I'm at home that evening or I'm traveling for business. It should always be the same. The experience the employee has, the more apt they are to follow a compliance standard. And so when you don't have security teams or you don't have CISOs involved in the DEX experience and setting that out, you're not taking into consideration the security controls that should be in place. And as long as you align those security controls with the user experience that don't disrupt their workflow, you're going to have a more compliant workforce and you're going to have a more secure environment. As far as cybersecurity efforts, what I see a lot of is CISOs are really focused on security, and often security means a less than optimal user experience. Complex authentication processes or highly restrictive access controls are limiting functionality, and they're often implemented to maintain a more aggressive security posture on a network, but they don't take into consideration the end user's workflow. But what it does is it actually makes it harder for the end user to do their job. And when that happens, employees or people are people. They're going to find a way around it. When you're trying to balance that, it's employees will always find an easy way to do something. So if you make it too difficult for them, they're just going to find a way around it. And they're using their corporate device, which may be set up with the requirements in place and the security posture and profiles that the company wants on the network, because in their mind, they're not violating a security policy if they're getting their work done, because to them, getting the work done is the most important thing. So what CISOs need to do is when they're looking at how to balance this, they need to understand employees' work habits. They need to understand the workflow that an employee has to do their job and the solutions that they look for and the security tools they put in place need to be as in line with that workflow as they possibly can without major changes to that workflow. You need to sit down and talk with employees to understand what their workflow is and what are the critical areas of their workflow. And if you can, don't mess with those critical workflow areas. Try to keep it as consistent as possible in what employee is used to doing. And if you can do that, then what you'll do is you'll see a rapid acceptance of any type of new security tool that you put in place because it doesn't impact them. So know the workflow, view your security tool that you intend to use, and ensure that you have minimal disruption to that critical workflow. It'll make it a lot easier for the employee to accept it. One of the big things CISOs can do in trying to help an organization with their DEX efforts is set some requirements at a security level that are in line with employees' workflows and, of course, the employee experience. It's often a lot of times that we have a habit of building, as CISOs, we have a habit of building programs or security postures that are not in line with what IT is trying to do. And so you end up with a lot of consternation, and it's the user that ends up suffering because they have to either authenticate multiple times or they have to, jump through hoops in order to gain access to an application they're trying to gain access to. And so by setting up a set of security requirements that are in line with that digital experience, it makes it a lot easier for, again, the implementation and also then for the compliance from the end user. Well, in today's threat landscape, it's imperative that all business stakeholders understand the importance of security. I think that CISOs should be presenting to boards or senior leadership on a regular basis. They need to identify key performance indicators that are reflective within their industry for the security measures that are important to them, their industry. And they need to be presenting on those KPIs on a regular basis and showing how they're improving the overall security posture of the company